we're gonna try something new, and so I just wanted to have a discussion with these people. This is Richard. This is Angelica.
Hello.
And this is Mike.
Hi.
Mike just came in from Beijing, but he's lived in Taipei before. So, Mike, why don't you tell us about your trip? Like, were you able to get into Taiwan without any problems? Did they like pull you aside and say, "Are you COVID free?" Or like, you know? Like,
No, it was very easy. It was very easy because, as you might know, the restrictions just got lifted, right? Both in Taiwan and in China. Actually, we had to do 48 hours COVID tests. So I was negative. I don't know about now. I got COVID 3 weeks ago. But so in Beijing, I got COVID in Beijing, and it was okay. I just had one bad night, like a fever. But you know, I've had way worse before in my life. Way worse, like viruses before. Yeah. So this was really a walk in the park compared to what I had like before. You know. So yeah, we just went to the airport. And as you might know, like it's funny because the Beijing-Taipei route is always delayed, always. I think it's for political reasons. I'm not sure. I don't have the proof. It's just
you know, at the airport they delay the flight.
Yeah, always.
Because I was flying back from Beijing capital to the Taoyuan, and then they delayed our flight till the next day. But I thought maybe it was because of weather. It was kind of like, you know, thunderstorm.
It's really annoying.
At least my general understanding is that one is like flights inside China, like from that involves airport to the mainland, often gets delayed anyway, for even between their own cities. The general problem has been that they open up a considerably less percentage of their airspace relative to other places because of like the military logic issue of like the PLAF just don't let like the commercial routes fly to all those other places, so there's a lot more restriction, and also because almost like the domestic like airport capacity in China is very new. It's like really the last decade plus that it really started to get fleshed out, so it's just not a lot of experienced staff, not a lot of like enough experienced people at all levels to make it function like totally at least like according to what they hope it would be. So it's like a combination of that problem as well, probably.
Okay, so we want to know, were there any A4 protests going on in Beijing in your area?
Okay, so yes, so I was following that live. I didn't go. It was really near where I live. So it was, for those who know, was in Liangmai River in Chaoyang, which is East Beijing. I also live in Chaoyang, maybe 5 subway stops away. But you know, I didn't want to go, and I could follow everything live on like the WeChat moments.
Yes.
You know, so everybody was sharing. Everybody knew what was going on.
The WeChat moments, were they critical of the government, or were they all like what was the nature of the posts?
No. The on the WeChat moments, people were just sharing what was going on.
There's no comment.
They were not saying, "Oh, I agree, I disagree." This
just
is
pictures.
Yeah, just pictures and videos.
Okay.
Pictures and videos. They were sharing what was going on. Nothing else.
Right.
No comments. Yeah.
Okay.
So, so in Beijing, it was only one day, one night, like 3 hours from 10 p.m. to, I don't know, 2 a.m. And so there were a few policemen at first, and then obviously like buses of policemen came, but it was all very peaceful, like from both sides, like the protesters and the police, like very peaceful. And then yeah, the next day it was over, and like I think like 1 or 2 days later, the government stopped the zero COVID policy. Is there a link between? I don't know, but it's a fact that this is what happened.
Do you think that the protests were much more severe in Shanghai than Beijing?
Of course. I mean, just look at the videos. You don't have to.
Why do you think that is?
Well, the videos, if you look at the videos are easily available, right? You can just compare. In Shanghai, they had really tough words against the government, but in Beijing was a lot less, and actually Shanghai was not even the worst. It was more like the
second, third tier city.
the factory, the Taiwanese Foxconn.
The Foxconn factory.
Foxconn, that was like wow, it was crazy. And I think it's important to make the difference between all the different cities, because in China is very like every province is very independent, right, from one another. And so for example in Foxconn, the people there have a terrible life. Their jobs are so difficult, right? You've heard about the suicides and stuff. They have like nets.
Which city?
Foxconn.
Zhenzhou. It's in Zhenzhou,
Shenzhen.
Henan. No, it's the Henan one. The one in Zhenzhou, Henan.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Well, it's a huge factory. The workers have very poor working conditions. So first, they are not really happy about their condition. And if you add the zero COVID policy, which was really hard, really tough, really strict, I think they just lost it. They were like, look, our salaries are very low. We work so hard. Now we have the zero COVID. It's too much. So boom, and the protest, you can see the videos. It was really like they were throwing stuff against the police. So and it was not only recent. They also had protests last year and the year before. So it's an ongoing thing. I think there's a problem at this factory.
Well, I have a follow-up question for you, which is that, of course, outside of China, we see those absolutely unbelievable protests, whether it's in Shanghai or elsewhere, and we think about what it might mean for the Chinese regime. And so do you have any thoughts yourself, and do you think there's any kind of misinterpretations of the protests from the outside?
So first, I think it's not as big as maybe the Western media make it look like. I think it's a fact, like it was not a revolution, okay? Really not. Also, it was different in every city. So like Beijing, like I said, it was maybe 200 or 300 people tops. And it only lasted one day. Another thing is, and this is really, I have no, it's not factual, it's just an opinion. You know how the government is involved in every aspect of life in China. And this is it's official, this is what they want, communism, right? So maybe they kind of like, started the protests on purpose. I mean, it could be possible, like, I'm not saying that they started the protest, but I'm saying maybe they were involved. Now, to what degree? That is the question, But
I think what could be said is that they have really went very light on the censorship. Videos that would have been immediately disappeared were left up for days on Weibo and other microblogging platforms.
Yeah.
So I think there's probably some sort of recognition that if they don't let people blow off steam, maybe something worse would happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think you can discount the importance of these protests, because never have I ever thought that people will say down with communism or down with Xi Jinping on the streets of China. And I think what will be really interesting is to what will happen to those people, and what will, if they will protest again, if pressure mounts in some other direction.
It's a fact that it's the largest protest since Tiananmen. Okay, it's a fact, and I agree. Now, I think it's also a good thing that the government reacted the way they did,
Yeah.
because, you know, of course, I mean, I'm French, so I'm used to protests.
Yeah, the
Okay.
gilets jaunes, that's what makes it look
Yeah,
like
the
pirates,
yellow
yeah.
vest, right? And I'm used to crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I'm used to crazy stuff.
So compare.
And when I
compare-
see that,
yeah.
like the way the Chinese government reacted, like with a peaceful police force, and like, so I don't know if they stopped zero COVID because of that, but the fact is that it happened. 2 days after the protests in Beijing, the zero COVID was over. So, yeah, you might say it's because they listened to the people, and if they did, that's great, you know.
I just wonder what's going to happen to those people. Their
That got
faces have
arrested?
been, well, not just that those who, everybody
Usually,
who participated in
no.
those protests, right? They're all facial recognition. It's going to be on their records forever.
Right.
Yeah, this primarily the problem would be if they need to try to like get into government service. That would be a problem. But it's a big mess, because you would figure with all the issues that China faced, at some point they will have to do the obvious, which is to cut back on government spending. That seems to be the obvious, right? It's like the obvious thing that they can actually control of, like, because that happened in the 90s as well, and where like a lot of there was a lot of downsizing of government, and then like the cutting of like SOEs everywhere, and it got a little bit bigger like in the last decade or so, but so you would figure at some point like it would have to happen, or they would have to greatly cut back on like what they actually pay the people, the various public employees, and that will have its own. So like by that time, who wants to be public? Who cares if you can't be public employee? Nobody cared in the late 90s and like early 2000s of if they can work for government in China at that point, and it's more of a sign of the times of that it's a problematic that at least in the last few years everyone wanted to work for the government. That's probably not a reflection of. That's not. It's generally a good reflection of the economy is actually not going well. So that everyone wants to work for the government. So that is. So we'll see, because Mike is right, because I think it's probably some sort of like lower level rebellion of like the inside within the system of we just can't execute this. This is like ridiculous command. We just can't execute it anywhere near what you think it should be, and so we'll just intentionally sort of let a few things go.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
And then like show you
To
up.
diffuse the
This
situation.
is like both the low level government, the police, and whatever sort of cooperated to tell the people that this is ridiculous. This can't.
Do you think it possibly at all affects Xi's position in China, which is like so consolidated after the 20th Party?
You're right.
Congress?
Yeah, exactly. I think you gave the answer in your question, because he worked for 10 years to consolidate his power. I think he got to a point where nothing can happen. And you know, the zero COVID lasted for 3 years, right? So, and now it's over. And knowing the Chinese and how they really care about harmony, not disrupting things, like the way of things. Now that zero COVID is over, there's really no reason to to point fingers at him anymore, and I don't know how much he was involved in zero COVID. Some say that it's his thing, but I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think it was him alone,
I don't see how anything can happen in China significantly that isn't his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it like his
it's-
idea, or is like just
or
like
his-
a lot of group of experts that
Well,
want to think what he thinks, so they
I
come up with
think
something that's kind of one of those
we should
things.
move on from the topic.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of
I have
important.
to say though, I'm really curious to see what happens to the Chinese economy after this.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, we all are, of
Yeah,
course.
definitely.
That's kind of a
But you had
everything's
COVID
connected.
there and it was okay.
But listen, I was actually invited to a CCP meeting about the economy.
Oh yeah.
Like the topic of the meeting was the future of the economy, and so I was actually honored to be invited because it was only diplomats, people from the Chamber of Commerce. Okay, so I had people telling me, "Oh, Mike, you are a friend with no, it's if in that case ambassadors and people of Chamber of Commerce are also friends with the CCP, no, we have to, my mentality is to talk to everyone. China is a major power today, and I'm French. I think it's in my interest and in my country's interest to have the best relationship possible with China. That's the way I see it. China and other countries, of course, Taiwan as well. America, Russia, I'm all about multilateralism.
Well, I wish I could have such a relaxed view about China, but sitting here in Taiwan, it's a little bit more
But
difficult.
having lived there for 5 years, 6 years, I really, learned so much, and I don't know. I don't think we will have time to in this video, but I hope we can talk about this more in the future. And so, anyways, my point is, during that meeting, the officials were very confident. So I'm just repeating what they say.
Okay. No, it's valuable information.
Yeah,
They
so
get so
it's their
little
job. It's their
information,
job, So they were very confident. They gave a lot of figures, And what the thing that really marked me the most was that they were experts. By listening to them, I was like, wow, okay, they really know what they're talking about. Like they could talk forever about a topic and like really go inside the details, and I was like, wow, okay, I'm listening to experts.
I just have one more question that because here on Twitter we see a lot of videos coming from China that make it seem like the COVID situation there is just completely out of control. We're talking about bodies piling up in morgues and just nowhere to put everybody.
Yeah.
Is it like that? Are you seeing that, or are those extreme circumstances?
I didn't see that, but again, I didn't go to
The hospitals or
I didn't. Actually, I went to hospitals and I saw massive queues of people, trying to get medicine and stuff. But that was at the very beginning. So there are a lot of ways to get medicine, to get help now. So, I mean, I'm sure, it's a virus, right? So I'm sure in China, the same is going to happen in China that happened in the rest of the world. People are gonna die. China has 1.5 billion people. If you, compare to other countries with the same statistics, you can find an approximate number, and I'm guessing this number is gonna be high.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Mike. It's very.
But to conclude, you're welcome.
Yeah.
To conclude, I think so. The zero COVID strategy of China was to wait for the virus to get less deadly, right? The first wave.
Or buy time to prepare.
So that was their strategy. That was their official strategy. So, and it looks like, because I know people who've had COVID with the first wave, and it looks like 3 years later, the COVID is a lot less dangerous. So I'm just saying what was their plan. Now people can think whatever they want. This is the official line.
Yeah, I mean, at least as for body piling up, I think in 2020 or something, there was in New York there was also body piling up. So one has to be a little bit of a.
This is the thing, though.
Yeah.
The Chinese had 3 years to prepare for it.
Yeah, I agree that the plan might have in theory made sense, but it wasn't really executed to anywhere near what they think it should have been at least. But
At some point we have to move on from the topic.
yeah, I think we should move on from that.
Okay, Mike. So
It's a really good topic, I understand, and it's ongoing, right? So everybody's so passionate about this.
No, definitely.
Okay.
And we all lived it. You know, it was worldwide. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it
Yeah.
in May. This May, so this recent, about 6 months ago here, and it was quite bad for like a few days. I was thinking of if I should go to the hospital.
all the people I know in China have had very mild symptoms.
Okay, can I ask everyone if they got vaccinated or not?
Yeah, I got
Double
first shot, but 2 Pfizer and the Moderna, but then I got infected about like a few weeks after I got my
Did
third
you get all
shot.
these shots in Taiwan?
Yeah. So
I got both my shots in Taiwan. It's one BNT and one Moderna.
What did you mix? Why did you get one of each? Why didn't you just get the same thing?
because you can't always get what you want.
It just happened. My second shot, I just went to a clinic and no, my first shot was Moderna, and the second shot, I just went to a clinic and they had BNT.
Oh,
Yeah, because during the peak wave of when they were vaccinating, they kind of waited in line. So for people our age, kind of just got the short stick because the first wave was, hey, let's start with the oldest people first, and the second was, let's start with the youngest people first. So then the middle age people are like, what the fuck? And then, hey, we're the ones working and going out
okay,
there.
Mike, how was your vaccine
3 shots of Sinopharm.
in Beijing?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have to like get on a wait list or just get it?
You could just show up to the center and line up and give your passport details, and it was free.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no like app that you have to sign up for and then they call you when it's ready or anything
No.
like that? Because we had a complicated system in Taiwan.
Yeah, you had to register online and
Well, what
all
about
that
you,
stuff.
Jason? What did you get?
Oh, I went back to the States in 2021. The vaccine was already available in Taiwan, but of course, like there was no way for me to get it. So I went back to the States, and then I noticed that it was readily available like everywhere, like at Target, and it was like they were trying a little too hard to give me a vaccine, and then they even called me, the clinic that I go to, or the hospital or whatever, they called me, and I was like, how did you get my number? Like, and then they didn't explain. They're like, have you gotten your COVID vaccine? And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, you've got to come in and get one. Do you want to sign up right now? I was like, oh, no, let me think about it. And then they're like, well, why do
You
you have
didn't get vaccinated, did you?
why do you have to think about it? I was like, well, I'm still doing my research. Like, just like, I'll get back to you. And then there was all this like pressure. This is like late 2021, and then I was like going like, something's wrong here. Like, why is everyone and everything pressuring me to get these vaccines? And then I was just like, then like my family hated me, my friends hated me for not getting the vaccine, and then like one of my friends, like good friends in Europe, she's just like, okay, you're back in the States, get the vaccine. And I'm like, no, I don't think I'm gonna get it. And then she's just like, she couldn't accept it. She was just like, you are an anti-vaxxer. And I didn't know what that meant at the time because I've had other vaccines before, but then I just wasn't comfortable with this one. And then so I was like the black sheep of my family. Like I was like, not invited to Thanksgiving, and
Wow.
Some of my friends were just like, I don't want to see you.
It
You're
got
a
really,
jerk.
really ideological in the States.
Yeah.
The COVID culture wars is real, and even as somebody who's double vax, I double vax, and I'm just like, no more. I put 2 shots in my body.
Yeah.
I did my duty. I think that was a good choice, but now I'm gonna stop. People will judge you for not getting that boosted and
Well,
quadruple
we've
boosted.
also had a lot of people getting cancer after getting the vaccine.
Oh yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, That's not,
After-
that's a very deep rabbit
let's
hole.
not go down
That's a
that.
very
No,
deep
no,
rabbit hole.
I've heard, but I mean, perhaps maybe because they were older.
Yeah,
I've
but
heard
that's kind of the-
But
Well,
you know,
I've
people
never
were going
heard-
to get back
I never heard cancer,
anyhow, you
but
know?
I heard side effects.
Yeah.
Okay,
Side
so
effects are fine, but like
Yeah,
cancer and then dying. I've heard that.
I forgot it
more
was
than one
like
time
my
in
first
Taiwan.
shot or second shot. Like after one of the shot, it felt I was like pretty sick for a few days at least.
Well, the timing's not correct with cancer. Cancer takes a long time to develop and grow. So unless it's like an
Maybe it
extreme-
accelerates the process.
I don't know, but
Cancer is
people,
something we don't
people
understand
are
super
always
well.
going to get cancer,
Okay.
and
we can
you know,
move on.
Yeah,
Let's move
this is a very deep
Oh,
rabbit
Well, you know,
sorry.
hole.
I
let's
thought
go down-
talking about
let's-
election fraud was
let's
controversial,
go-
but apparently this is even more controversial. But
Yeah,
I didn't know it was
sure, I mean-
controversial.
well, Jason, you just never met a conspiracy theory you didn't like.
Hey, sometimes it's weird, you know, like topics like I agree. The election fraud should be the most controversial, you know. It should be because this is the, you know, the base for democracy. Like everything must be transparent, right? So